Namaskaram everyone, welcome to another podcast. Today we are going to discuss virtual reality music experiences, how it is changing the music industry by immersive concerts and performances. And I know that this topic is going to be really interesting as we explore how these immersive concerts and performances are changing the way we enjoy music nowadays. And to discuss this interesting topic, we have someone whose passion lies in exploring emerging trends in entertainment and technology. So be it music, NFTs, or virtual reality. So we have with us today Shatadru Sarkar. Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So
Pleasure to be here.
he is the founder and executive director of Metastar Media, which strives to empower the independent players of the music industry by leveraging cutting edge technologies and blockchain innovations to address the limitations and gaps of the traditional entertainment platforms. He is also a founding partner of Ambisonics VR, which is redefining the art of storytelling and entertainment through VR AR experiences and narratives. He's also a business development consultant and Turnkey Music and Publishing Private Limited. With over 15 years of experience in the Indian music and entertainment industry, Shatadru has led teams at Indian entertainment majors such as Saregama India Limited and Times of India. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Yes. So let's just first start by understanding how this intersection of it's such interesting intersection. You know how music and VR are now getting used to give such unique experience to the listeners.
Yeah. Well, VR as a format, I always believed is really the ultimate experience. It's an experiential format, right? So, watching anything in VR, be it a sports event or even movies or, of course, concerts, etc., is a much more immersive experience than just watching it on a flat screen TV. It is home entertainment, no doubt, right? I don't think VR will replace live experiences anytime soon because the energy and experience of a live is something else. But for everything else, a recorded experience, a streamed experience, which people consume at home, I think VR is a big step up. So I think it applies to all formats of content. And with music, especially, I think there are a lot of applications of VR.
Yes. So how do these concerts and performances in VR actually work? Like how do they differ from traditional live music experiences?
Well, the concert person, so there are two options in this, right? One is that you have a VR experience of an actual live show where you set up VR 3D 360 cameras and you record a performance in VR. And that is available to the end user who can put on a VR headset and they're completely immersed in that environment. So, sit so you feel sitting at home, you feel like you're at a live concert as opposed to being there. So that is one option, which is really video that you're watching at the end of the day. The second option is, of course, creating what a lot of people are doing today in the metaverse is creating virtual environments where you can experience concerts via digital avatar. Fans can attend and interact with each other via digital avatars. Artists can come and perform on stage in their digital avatars. So there's a tech behind that, obviously, that powers all this. But from an experience point of view, these are the two major experiences at the moment. The first one is obviously it's actual artists, the live artists playing live. So you feel immersed in an environment. However, it is not as interactive because it's still a video experience. You're watching a concert, you're not being to interact with the people around you. In the metaverse, in digital environments where you are attending as avatars, you can also interact with other concert goers as well. So I think that interactivity element is also important. So I think, I mean, for the future of VR and concerts, I think it is more in the metaverse space rather than VR recording of a concert or a live stream of a concert. But both have tremendous immersive qualities.
But how are artists and record labels are embracing this technology to connect with their fans in such a exciting way? Because as a fan, seeing your favorite artist live is a really special thing. So don't you think that would be taken away from fan when they are just watching that in VR at the comfort of your home of their home?
Well, like I said, they're two different experiences, not necessarily one places the other. If you think about a concert that's happening, there is so many people, so many tickets that can be sold, right? They have limitations of, number of tickets that can be sold, geographical limitations. If you're a fan of an artist and you're based in Bombay and the artist is performing in Delhi or where in the world, right? Chances are you will not be able to attend that concert. So VR concert, watching it in VR would be the next best thing. Um, so of course, if you can attend a concert and be front row, watching your artist live, I don't think anything replaces that. But if you're unable to do that, then I think VR comes very close as a second best option. And I think that's the potential of VR is, taking that geographical limitations. Your ticketing can be unlimited. You can sell a 500 seater, 1,000 seater, 2,000 seater, and then you can also sell exclusively VR concert tickets for that same concert. So I think your monetization opportunities are more with VR. Um, you're giving an amazing experience as well. It's not the same as watching a recorded concert on TV. It is much more immersive. And yeah, I think that's the key thing in embracing VR in concerts for artists, especially, and artist management companies and event organizers. It's the scope of better monetization beyond your venue capacity, your geographical limitations.
But so now let's also understand what is the technology that goes behind creating such music experiences. Like few components might be VR headsets, of course, motion tracking, 3D audio, but what does it actually takes to create such immersive world of sound and visuals?
So again, on depending on if you're going down the video route, it's a different bunch of tech. If you're going down the metaverse route with avatars, it's completely different tech in it that's required. For video shooting, really, what you require is, of course, the ability to capture 3D 360 audio. You can also make spatial audio by converting audio to spatial as well. But the main thing is having VR cameras to capture your 360. Placing them at the right, I think placement is very important as to where you're placing the cameras. And then, it's really stitching that footage together and editing together into a complete, seamless sort of VR experience. So that is the video side of things. You don't need motion cap and all for that. It is a video recording. It's a 360 video recording. But when you get into the metaverse side of things, then it gets a little more complicated. You need to create digital environments. You need software, platforms like Unreal Engine, Unity, um, to create such environments. And then, of course, you have to you place your artists in there. You can motion capture artists. They can you have to create their digital avatars. Doing this live is it takes a lot of bandwidth as well. You need to have fast computers, even for the consumers who are watching it. The processing power on the VR headsets and the overall bandwidth has to be very high as well. So it comes with its limitations and advantages as well.
So, what can fans expect from VR concerts, and how do you think this it enhances the experience for them?
See, I think with VR, the potential of VR is, I think, beyond concerts, is to actually get a lot closer to the artists that you follow, right? Some of the best VR content that I have watched or I've experienced in the music is actually just not a concert, but it is closely a intimate interview with an artist where you feel like you're sitting with, opposite the artist, and completely immersed in that environment. Um, a close up, close look into the artist's studio work, following the artist into their studio, see how they work in the studio. So, it's actually that intimacy that VR creates, where you feel that you're sitting right next to the icon that you follow, or the artist that you follow, the artist that you're a fan of, and, be able to right there in the moment while they're creating. So I think that is the amazing potential of VR. But with, of course, concerts, like I said, if you're unable to attend a concert, unable to get the best seats in the house, then VR gives you that opportunity to literally get the best seats in the house, be front row, attend your favorite artist concert.
So, and also, what impact do you think these music experience will have on the music industry as a whole, and also both for artists and fans?
I think at a very macro level, it's an additional monetization opportunity for everyone involved, right from artists to creators to event organizers. You could potentially sell more tickets. These experiences can be monetized. Obviously, because it's VR, it brings the fan a lot closer to the artist. Um, you know, Imagine if you could follow your favorite artist in VR through their day schedule, where you feel like you're literally standing next to the artist while they're recording in the studio, or you're part of that close group of that artist when they're creating a song or they're doing a recording, so you feel almost like you're part of that team as opposed to, so that kind of experiences is something that only VR can give you. So in terms of fan engagement, it's a winner. It's one of the best platforms to really engage at a deeper level with your fan base, because VR does tend to excite a sort of emotional response as opposed to just passive watching. It is a very inclusive platform. Also, it's why I say inclusive as well is for concerts. You know, you there could be situations where you are unable to go into a concert. For people with disabilities, it's a great experience to be able to sit at home and put on a VR headset and attend a concert of their choice, right? So I think that inclusive nature of VR and that intimate connection that it makes between an artist and a fan is very important.
Yeah, that's a really great point that you mentioned. Also, are there any examples of those who are actually now integrating this technology in creating such music experiences?
I think there are globally there is a company called Amaze VR that does creates amazing concert experiences. Um, there's a company called Wave VR as well that has music experiences in VR. Closer to home in Metas with Metastar Media, we are creating immersive concert environment. Every alternate Wednesdays, we host a show in the metaverse where DJs come perform and people from all over the globe, no matter where they are. We're forming a community around the music that then they can just attend in their digital avatars. It's accessible via laptop and also VR headsets as well. So no, we're building that with Metastar. We're also creating immersive websites for artists to engage deeper with their fans. So as a fan, you enter the artist's world as opposed to visiting a website or just following them on social media. So it's a look and it's a, building a closer connect between the music, between the artist and the community and the fans that follow.
So, how does actually the integration of VR happens with music experiences? So, is it like partnering with music streaming platforms, or how is it?
So we do it. So for us, I can speak about for Metastar is like we work directly with artists and their management. A lot of the stuff that we do, which is live, is not doesn't come under the purview of streaming services or record labels. It is an artist performance at the end of the day. except that it's happening in the metaverse or in VR space as opposed to live. So we speak to the artists directly, to their management directly to enable for them to come and perform in our spaces.
So now let's also understand the challenges of this technology. So this concept of VR music is still a relatively new concept, and one of the significant challenges is creating a seamless, lag-free experience for fans. So what are the challenges that one might face in creating these experiences?
At a ground level, see, it's really reach. Creating an experience isn't a challenge. It is a question of having tech and the resources to be able to execute. So I think companies that are creating these experiences have that. Um, so that, in that sense, isn't a challenge. The biggest challenge, I think, in VR, which I've been saying for the last few years, is really making the device, the VR headset, more accessible, um, more user friendly, more pocket friendly for consumers to pick up. A lot of all new um, content, all new formats are device dependent. The reason why streaming, video streaming, audio streaming, streaming services like Netflix, Amazon, etc., Spotify have taken off in India is because of the device, the smartphone, right? Which is, affordable by everyone, great by internet bandwidth as well, right? So everyone has access to the device and therefore has access to the software, right? With VR, I think the first challenge is that is, putting a VR, getting the general public, the consumers, more accustomed to the device, making it more accessible, making it, like I said, a little easier to use. I feel even today VR devices are a little bulky, um, you know, for comfort, and yeah, and making it more pocket friendly as well. Um, so I think once that happens, when the device sort of breaks into the market, then everything else which is connected to it, all types of content, I think that it's a chicken and an egg story, right? Uh, you need good devices for the content, and then when people get the devices, then you need the content to support it as well.
And also, how do you think the challenge of latency can be tackled? Because latency can just ruin the experience, the whole music experience. So it is crucial to have a powerful hardware, and also how you mentioned the software and the content of the inside the headset. So how do you think that can be tackled?
See, the latency is a question of two things, right? It is one, of course, is bandwidth, which I think India is getting there. Good speeds. Not everywhere, but it's getting there. And of course, it's the hardware. So it is a tech situation. For us content creators, who are creating the content, um, unfortunately, we don't, latency is something that we can't solve. Uh, it's depending on how uh, fast the processing of the hardware is, or and how fast the internet service is.
And we also talked about how this music experiences gives artists the opportunity to connect with their fans in a new, exciting way. So, how do you think artists also need to ensure the inclusivity of such experiences among fans?
See, artists will promote and will push, whatever content that they. So, I think this is again more device driven. So, larger demand for the device. I don't think anyone is going picking up a smartphone because they want to listen to Michael Jackson on Spotify, right? They are picking up the smartphone as a device, right? So, similarly with VR, I think you have to have multiple applications on the device. Music will be one of them. But of course, for a fan of an artist, this, if they have the device, then having the VR content from the artist is a step above any other type of content that that may have. Like as I keep saying, virtual reality as a format is much richer, much more immersive, much more engaging than any other format at the present. So it's really the best quality format, best quality content that one can consume. And from my experience, artists will be happy to create that content. The biggest challenge today with any artist creating that content is once you create it and once you've invested time and effort and resources towards creating that content, how many people are getting to actually consume it? And that depends on you know how many people have VR devices, have access to VR devices. You know, so I think that primarily with VR is a challenge. But for people like I know myself included who own VR devices, it's the go-to format. I would any artist that releases content in VR, I'm the first to kind of go check it out. Some of the best artist-driven content that I've seen, that I've consumed, has actually been in VR. Be it concerts, even in a way intimate interviews, so sort of biographies of artists in VR. That the immersive nature is just it's unbeatable.
And also, how do you see record labels leveraging this new technology to reach to a wider audience?
See, with record labels, the big opportunity for record labels is uh, more monetization opportunity, right? The job of record labels is to monetize whatever content that they make, right? Be it music videos, be it audio tracks, whatever they release. So this gives an additional opportunity for them to be able to monetize content, to create a parallel to live music. It's home entertainment, right? Like I said, so they can like I know a lot of record labels are building properties, live music properties. Today it's on YouTube. That same property can be a premium property in VR as well. If you look at, for example, just throughout a Coke studio, which is a massive property in India and Pakistan, and you have it on YouTube, and it used to air on television as well. Um, Maybe that can if you do Coke Studio in VR, that can be a premium subscription service or paid for content, right? So that allows for additional revenue for a label. So yeah, I think I think the first lookout for any label is this monetization of content, and VR is premium content. So I think it allows for monetization, but again, the challenge is uh, getting how many people will consume.
Do artists also need to adapt their performances for VR, which that of course requires significant investment in such technology and design?
So for if you're doing video, like what I said earlier, that there are two types. One is that an artist can do a regular concert, and it is how you um, position your cameras and do a 360 video recording of that concert, right? So in that case, the artist's performance or requirement doesn't really change much. Hey, let's be frank that artists will not invest in VR infrastructure. It is companies like us and tech companies and music labels who will have to sort of build these platforms for artists, right? Um, Art for artists is an opportunity to perform, right? So in the first case where it is video driven, um, the performance of the artist doesn't really change much. But in the second case, where you're talking about metaverse, you talk about building virtual environments, you talk about motion capture, then the artist obviously has to come into a studio. They have to wear their mocap suit. They need to be trained to certain ways. So it is a tedious process that is very different from what they would do for a typical live concert. But again, it's a different experience for fans. Well,
Where do you see it happening in India? As we talked about monetization, so I think there's a very huge opportunity for there. Is there any like time period where you see that in India it might happen these virtual reality
See,
experiences.
I think VR is around the corner. Unfortunately, I mean, we've been saying that for a while, that VR is about to hit mainstream. It's been emerging. It's been an emerging technology for quite a while now. Um, I, if you ask me, maybe I'd give it another couple of years. But it really depends. Like I said, it's a device-driven um, uh, format. India is a very price-sensitive device market. So, maybe, when we have local manufacturers of devices and they can bring the price down, when the tech becomes a little better, becomes less cumbersome to use, I think all those factors kind of have to come together. And but I see it happening. I mean, I've seen that journey in the last 3 years, how VR tech has developed leaps and bounds. The VR headsets are getting better. They're getting faster. Um, so maybe another 2 to 3 years, maybe you can see um, people taking VR a lot more seriously. There are players already in the market who are creating VR content. There are, unlike AjnaLens, there are VR device manufacturers as well. So I think the shift is happening. But of course, to go more mainstream, I think we may be another couple of years away.
Yes, you rightly mentioned the price point that let alone the the live concerts, the price for those concerts is let alone very pricey. So I think when the price point is reduced it is especially in VR. So if the price point is reduced, then I think it might get majorly adopted by India.
Yeah, I think no, it's not about say main. I think the price point is going to be about also the device, right?
Yes.
The device has to be accessible. I think once you have that creating for pricing a concert experience of VR right is not going to be the challenge. I think how many people having access to VR devices is going to be the challenge. Uh, and to be able to put VR devices in the hands of as many people, the general public will require a correction in the price point. Today, and an Oculus, for example, retails for almost 40,000 rupees, which is a prohibitive price point, right? Even it is, and Apple VR devices in the range of almost, 2 lakhs, right? So, these are not price points for a general consumer in India, right? So until that happens, where, the devices themselves are more accessible, I think, because it's a device dependent. At the end of the day, we're talking about VR content. How is it consumed on a VR device? So people need VR devices. It's simple as that, right? And the cheaper it gets, the smaller it gets, the faster it gets, the better it is.
Let's also talk about what you at what Metastar is doing, how it is allowing both independent artists and record labels to create more such experiences, and also how is Metastar helping the music industry to use such technologies.
Sure. So, see, our core philosophy is really to help independent artists, musicians, independent labels to embrace music, right? We firmly believe that immersive format is the future. If you look at all the trends that are happening today, from gamifying games, video games, where the generation today is addicted to video games, addicted to platforms like Roblox. Um, if you see what Mark Zuckerberg has done with Facebook to Meta, and their every investment in immersive technologies, every major giant is tech giant is invested in immersive formats and immersive devices. So if you look at all the, those signs are all pointing at the future of the internet itself being immersive, right? So immersive content is something that we believe in. We believe that immersive also is helps in fan engagement as opposed to very passive. going to a market or going to a platform and browsing through and scrolling up and down. You feel like you're entering a different world that can be branded and built and designed according to whichever artist and whichever label that we're working with. So I think it is a lot closer connect with immersive content. So what we are building are two properties. One, like I was discussing, is a property called Orion Sphere, which is a metaverse concert venue where artists can come and perform in their digital avatars, and audiences, their fans can attend in their digital avatars and interact with each other. So it mimics a typical concert, where except that instead of in person, you're attending online in your digital avatar. So it's a what can I say? It's a meeting point of gamification and entertainment. The other platform that we have is it's basically as artist driven. We're building worlds for each artist that we work with, right? So you enter an artist world where the entire artist ecosystem, everything that an artist needs to or would want to offer to their fans, and everything that a fan would want from the artist is available on one destination. You don't have to jump to different websites to engage with the artist on one site, and it is immersive in nature. So instead of scrolling through a website, you feel like you've entered the artist lounge. It's very customized for each artist. So you experience the brand of that artist, as opposed to just going to a platform, a social media platform, or a marketplace. And that also allows the artist to engage with their fans and monetize their fans as well. Today, one of the issues with the industry is monetization. Um, Now, how do artists make money outside of live shows, right? So this allows the artists to kind of build their world and build various functionalities within there, and monetize the same with their core fan base. So these are the some of the products that we're building at Metastar.
You also mentioned digital artists, like how any singer or artist can perform as their digital avatar. So, do you also see any new virtual pop artist invention? Like I think I read about a company which introduced their first ever virtual pop artist. Do you
Yes,
know anything?
yes, there are a couple of companies that have done that. In fact, I think Sony Music in India would have had a virtual pop artist. I think that is the future. There is tremendous potential in that. Um, and the more we, advance with tech, the more we advance with gamification, I think we will definitely see a virtual pop star very soon. I think there's tremendous, like I said, there's scope of that, and that's something that we're working towards as well. That's part of our roadmap. And you're rightly, absolutely correct to assume that that is something that is definitely doable, and something that I think a lot of labels and tech companies who are into the space are targeting as well.
And any other such future predictions that we can predict, any future trends that we can predict in this music experiences?
Yeah, I am seeing a lot of closer connect. So, our fan engagement um, will go through the roof. I think the platform allows for fans to engage with an artist, and vice versa, like never before. Like I said, it is that intimate factor of, you almost as a fan, you feel you're part of the artist's crew, you know. So that, they'll be let into worlds which were never accessible before. With some of the artists, for example, we're building replicas of their studios, we're building digital replicas of their lounge, where a fan would never be able to enter, right? But because of the metaverse, now they can literally walk through an artist's room, an artist's house, interact with all the content that's there. It's like a museum of sorts for a fan, an interactive museum as well. So I think the scope of fan interaction, fan interactivity, fan engagement is tremendous with these formats.
So as we near the end of our conversation, we have touched upon really interesting topics. And so, do you have any key takeaways from our conversation today?
Yeah, I think one is that, that with VR again, I keep harping about it. It is all about the device, device, device. Having been in the VR industry for the last since 2018, I think that for everyone that we speak to, be it film producers, the record labels, even brands, I think distribution and reach and accessibility is a big question mark. So that is going to be a challenge that I hope Indian companies such as yourself, are looking to address the locally manufactured and hopefully get their price point right and get the device. As the VR headsets seem to be out as consumer friendly, pocket friendly devices in the market, right? So I think that's one. Um, Once that happens, and there's a plethora of content and applications beyond. Today, VR is used for training, etc. But in the entertainment space, there's huge scope of VR, right? From immersive cinema to tours to concerts to more intimate kind of experiences with artists. Um, there's a diverse world of content and possibilities. But it's really hopefully that the device will become more accessible. So
Yeah, it would be really interesting to see where this industry goes forward with such technology. All right. Yeah.
absolutely,
So thank you for joining us here and taking your time out. It's
you're
been a
welcome.
really
It's a pleasure.
interesting conversation. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaskaram.